enjoying 2 beautiful weeks over there. Always been a trip because of its volume of work that he does on Volvo motors. Well, congratulations to him. Have we heard from any other committee members? Who is missing tonight? Right? Harry's here. Harry's on the screen. We're still missing somebody. Who is?
I think that's it.
That's it? Is that everybody? And Terry?
And Jesse.
That was Jesse, yeah. Okay. Good. Are we recording? Yeah. Just people are in different seats. That's why I have to. Okay, so, before we drop tonight's agenda, it's a busy time of year, May. We've got minutes circulated to everybody. I hope everybody's had a chance to look. I've got a few questions on those minutes myself. I'm sure you may have. But we'll deal with that once we adopt the agenda. Does anybody have anything to add to tonight's agenda? Yes.
Wonder if there's a chance to add, if there's any follow-up regarding the items that are presented to council. Just because we're sort of at the end of that window now on, either things don't get done or they do. And I'm curious if there's any update from city, we can get an update from city staff.
I'm glad you asked that question because I have that, I've got the question mark as far as minutes and we can do that. Talk about that on the perusing those minutes.
Okay. Something I'd like to bring up, it's kind of muddy waters, but we said that we got a short agenda this evening. It's the use of the loading zone, the South Harbor.
Okay, is that what yeah. So just remind me, what are we specifically talking about down there?
Well, we've got a bylaw. For the loading zone, the object of the bylaw is to keep the loading zone open for anyone. That's 24/7. If the guy's in there and he's not unloading, the first 2 hours free. After that, it's $50 an hour. The concept was keep everybody moving. Like if you're loading and unloading, it takes you 6 hours and nobody's got a stopwatch on it. You're actively loading, that's fine.
And that's where the winch is, right? Along that area?
Yeah. But the jetty and the yellow stripe on float one. So, yeah, so.
Okay, so we'll add that to the agenda. Let's see where we should have it here under new business. Loading zone, is that new business or repeat
Yeah, we could,
or unfinished?
we can talk about it. And we can talk about it under new business.
Okay, new
We're probably not gonna
business.
resolve it, but.
Sorry.
I've also got concerns with the loading zone. The bumper log that's there, the fisherman actually approached me today when I was working on a boat and asked if I could mention it. Bumper log is actually submerged, so any vessels tying are actually damaging the bylaws. So I don't know if that's.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that aspect. of it.
Sure.
So that is added as 7E under new business. Anything else? Yes, Ken.
Maybe a couple things, and these both come from, seeing the minutes next year. At the last meeting, staff was going to report back to the committee on the recommendations that went to council prior to the last meeting. And there's a question about the amendment that, what was made to the motion of council. And I know that Jessica addressed that in the email she sent out, but I was wondering in that, the record shows that the city was going to report back to the committee of that. I'm not sure.
They're part of the minutes that we're going to review tonight, so let's have that discussion.
We could bring that as part of that.
I intend to go through most of the items on there and make sure that everybody's kosher with all of them, and if there's anybody that wants to discuss any particular one, we can bring it up at that point.
Okay, and second one, and this is perhaps this was not quite the same thing, or under the same umbrella. The recommendation we passed at the last meeting about getting a financial report on a couple of the overarching issues. The way it's worded in the minutes, there's no reference to council in there, and I went back over the record, the video recording, and it wasn't, even though that this was intended as a recommendation in council. It was mentioned several times during the discussion. It wasn't mentioned or read back to us in the motion that was finally passed. So that the way that motion reads,
Is that in the
minutes? That motion is in the minutes, but it needs to be
Okay,
rephrased.
so let's talk about it when we get there. Okay. So we've got that on the agenda. We'll cover it up. Anything else? Hearing none, I'll call for adoption of tonight's agenda with the addition of 7A use of loading zone and harbor law. Moved by Rob. The way we conduct these meetings now, do we need a seconder still or just seconded by Jim? All in favor? We have an agenda. That's one addition. So we move on to adoption of the minutes, and you all have a copy or should have all a copy in front of you, and we can ask various questions of those minutes as we go through them. So if we flip over to the second page, we have it's circle attendance. So I just wanted to mention that at our last meeting, we decided to just let the attendance issue slip until we hear from Cam. Did anybody touch base with Cam?
I talked to him on the dog.
And what did Cam have to say about attendance, if anything?
No, I specifically asked him, like, hey, do you still want to be part of this group? And he did not say no. He did not say no, which I thought was really good, because I think we need to have that representation. Throughout it all, I think it's gonna come down to us if he doesn't continue to attend, especially once he gets back from fishing, once we get into September. But he didn't say no. He said he's been a little bit frustrated with what has transpired. It just seems like we're spinning our wheels. But he did not say no, that he did not want to be part of this group, so.
Okay, so that's the update. So we will put that program.
I wonder, part of the issue here, I guess, is that there's nobody else who's not as busy as Cam who would be prepared to represent commercial users as that.
Well, we haven't searched for anybody either, though.
I've talked to fishermen who expressed interest and I think would be a really good candidate for it if Cam were to step aside.
Yeah.
But that's all up to him. That's their close friends as well, so they're chatting between the two of them, but Cam still expresses interest in doing it. I just don't know if it works for his schedule, and there may be a point where maybe group pressure to attend or to potentially express interest with somebody else might be the better thing. So somebody who the other person I've chatted with who might be interested is very qualified and has been on multiple other committees before, so I think would bring a good knowledge base.
When the applications came forward originally, we were debating between Cam and Kim, who both commercial guys, and
Kim is
Sam was
interested.
not at that time, so I don't know where Kim is. He's probably going prawn and too, so.
He's actually
He's
loading,
out of town.
he's the guy that's loading as we speak right now. Actually, loading.
Yeah, so they're busy.
But then Cam's problem with attending or his inability to attend meetings hasn't just been during crunch season. He hasn't been.
Yeah.
If the committee cares that we don't really have. Or commercial representation.
If anybody is thinking of asking Cam if they could replace him, or if you found an individual that is available all the time, you can have that discussion amongst yourself and bring it forward as a suggestion when it would have to go to council, because council would have to okay it. Okay?
Through the chair?
Yeah.
Actually, I have no commercial license on these guys.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can represent them. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so we got that base covered, which is good.
Sure. Sorry. I think.
Yeah, Terry.
Just to remind you, we're actually talking about the agenda now.
Yes, we are talking about the minutes.
No, we're actually talking about whether the minutes are correct or not carrying out actions.
We're not carrying out actions, but we're talking about what's on the minutes and the issues that are still outstanding.
Whether the minutes are accurate or not is the issue, not the substance of the.
No, we just have a few questions about the minutes, and that's what we're doing right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
So your commercial, is that like a commercial fishing license of some sort?
On the dock boat, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got that one pretty well under control there. Anybody have anything, else they wanted to bring up? I see under unfinished business, we have committee recommendations follow-up. And, Ken, you had something you wanted to bring up in that regard, correct?
Yeah, as indicated in the minutes, it said staff will review the amendment to the motion. That was, presented, I guess, to the committee last meeting. And report back to committee. And we got Jessica's email shortly after that. Which I would actually like to bring up in its own right, but I'm not sure if that constitutes a report back to the committee. Or if that report back to the committee should happen here tonight.
So let's hear from Jessica where we stand in that regard, because I don't have the buckets.
Yeah, so, I was right, it was, I had sent it to the committee, which was then after the minutes were done. If you would like it brought up at this meeting, I can say the same, if that's the wish of the committee.
So is it safe to say that based on previous discussions, staff are on these three recommendations that are following up? Ones that went,
Yes.
Well, the other thing I wanted to raise, that has. In the email Jessica sent, it refers to the amendment. Really, that staff will work, the amendment to the motion, when it was, passed to council. Was that in addition to the recommendations as we laid out in the minutes, that staff will work with the committee moving forward. And then Jessica notes that in here, but she also says that it was recorded as such on the committee's agenda, and I don't see it, so I'm just wondering where this confusion is coming from.
so I guess the question at this point, Jessica, is there's going to be some type of staff follow-up and report to the committee in this regard on these three items that went to council?
When there's follow-up to be had, yes, there just hasn't been any movement at this point, but I think Mr. Coleman might be talking about something different.
Well, it was, yeah, there was no mention to the amended motion on the agenda for the April, the second meeting. And so there's nowhere on the record actually that as part of that motion that council passed was the direction to work with the committee going forward. That's what I would like to see on the record.
I see. So Jessica, can you make note of that missing wording and report back to it on it at the next meeting, and even encourage staff to have some type of report come forward?
There, at this point, there wouldn't be anything to report, but I can amend the minutes to put that phrase in there. If that.
Sure, well, yeah. So I'm not sure how we can amend the minutes, because this is a record of the last meeting, but,
So
I'm not sure how to address that as far as correcting it goes.
Through the chair of the
Do
meeting.
work and then bring them back.
So the minutes, I could say, staff, that council directed staff to work with the committee too, and then those three motions. That was the committee or council motion.
Okay. And I might just also throw out there for a while in the back of our minds going forward, I'm not sure what the nature of that collaboration going forward is going to be. I think that I went back and I watched all the discussion at that council meeting again too, and I think there was some expectation that some of the components of the recommendations that the committee passed were going to be reconsidered. And then I just like some clarity on whether that's the city administration's understanding, I suppose, or how this, as I said, collaboration is going to move forward. Is there anything that can be said about that at this point? Probably not, but other than maybe reaching some kind of understanding.
So in the minutes before you, the statement at the bottom of those three items says that staff will review and report back. So I'm waiting for a report back and giving staff benefit of the doubt, come back to our next meeting and report.
Oh, okay, that's the understanding going forward.
That's the way I'm looking. Is that okay?
Sure.
I think
Yes.
it'd be reasonable too, we're now missing the CAO, we're missing Tora Bertig and Jamie Breslau's not here tonight too, so. I don't.
Is that, Mr. Lynn?
No, Breslau is the recreation.
No, I know, I'm just wondering who the SF on the screen is.
Mr. Fleming.
It is, okay. Yeah, so he's there, I guess.
Yeah, he's just not in operations or transportation, so just in terms of what the collaboration would look like, there's just nobody
Oh,
here or really on staff to be good at this time.
So the staff who are taking the lead on this would be from the operations side.
So,
Even though
I'm just gonna, at this point, make everybody aware that we are operating right now in City Hall without a CAO. So an interim CAO. We have, our interim, corporate officer. We have Jessica. That's who we have managing tonight's meeting, because I believe Jamie is busy with bargaining at this point in time. So just so that you're aware, everybody is stretched to the max here at City Hall, and we're doing the best we can until we have that new hire and get people. Okay. It's not an easy time here at City Hall, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so we moved through the minutes. Is there anything anybody else wants to bring up at this point? You have one, Ken?
yeah, this side is 7.3. The motion, says here, moved and seconded that the committee recommend, staff report. The recommendation wasn't to staff, because as has been pointed out many times, this committee has no authority to address that in any way, shape, or form. The recommendation was, to council, so or at least the understanding around the table. And I went back and listened to that again very carefully, and the expectation that this was a recommendation to council is actually expressed about 5 times during that 5-minute discussion. So I don't think there is any mistaken intent. But that wording is consistent with what Jessica read out when discussion finished. So I think it was almost like an oversight, I guess, on the committee's part, not to clarify that the motion, the intent of the motion was that council would request a report from staff on the following matters. So I don't know if we can.
Do we want to clear up how the committee, it should operate in this regard? Is it all right for the committee to request a staff report, or do they have to send something to council and request that report,
So the committee can only recommend to council, so whether you put to council or not, that's your only option.
No, that's what I was
It's a
asking.
question then whether staff will report to the committee or to council, or I'm not.
All the
understanding
previous
your question.
recommendations we had passed, and I went back through the record, I haven't read that many, but everyone mentioned. I can give you examples here. Moved and seconded that the committee recommend that council direct staff to revise. Moved and seconded that the committee recommend that council determine options for signage. Moved and seconded that Harbour Users Committee recommend that council consider changes applicable to our bylaws. So what's missing there is that the committee recommend that council request a report from staff.
You would like the minutes amended, I can do that, it's still a recommendation to council whether it says or not. You can
All the way it's
recommend
worded here,
to
is that there is no obligation on anybody to present this to council because it's not mentioned in the recommendation or in motion.
I mean, as I mentioned at the last meeting, we would be reporting at the end of audit and budget season. Finance staff had every intention of reporting to the committee on an updated financial report as requested. So if you would like to change minutes to say that you recommend to council anyway, if you would like to change minutes or add another motion to report to you, it's already in play. So I'm not sure what the
Okay,
condition is.
well, that was the intent of the motion that we passed at the last meeting.
Right.
So if by amending the minutes to, with everybody's agreement, I guess, amending the minutes to say that this is a recommendation to council. Triggers some follow-up action, right?
The action is there regardless. The action's there regardless. You recommend to council, the action's there regardless, so.
Okay.
Whether you say it's to council or not, either, yeah.
So I guess to be consistent, as you're asking for consistency.
Yes, I am. Let's
So,
be
if
consistent.
the committee is fine with asking Jessica to amend the minutes to include the word to council. If everybody's in agreement with that, we'll ask Jessica to amend that so that we all know that this will be going down.
That's the intention. Yes.
Yes, Jim? You're gonna move that? Seconder? Moved by Ken? Any other comments on this?
I do actually, as far as make those.
So I want to point out that the motion as it was in the minutes is what we actually passed. So if you don't like that motion, you can't correct the minutes to say something else that we didn't pass. You'll have to do a new motion to replace it. Since we're nitpicking, I think this point really doesn't make any difference. The only thing we can do is recommend to council. If we forgot the words, it still goes to council. So we're nitpicking over something that really doesn't matter.
I disagree with you on this as most things,
Yeah.
Terry. Yeah, okay, so if Terry is not, I mean, if the committee supports amending the minutes, I don't see any problem with us amending the minutes.
And the big worry here is that what we recommend is not actually going to council.
There is
You
no
can't-
mention that it's the recommendation to council, correct?
You can't amend the minutes to something we didn't do. The minutes will reflect what happened in the meeting. You can't amend the minutes to something we
Then let's
didn't.
introduce an amended motion.
Okay, Terry, we're not gonna get into an argument. I'm gonna solve the dilemma right now. Ken, I would like you to make a motion.
Yeah.
To send to council that you would like to see go forward.
I will do that. As soon as I raise one other point here, and this one actually bothers me a fair bit. The motion asked for clarity on the status of the North Harbour loan. I will also ask for
No, let's not get into the nitty gritty.
this is important, Jim.
Okay. Go
We
ahead.
also asked for an explanation of how excess revenues are allocated. That's where the motion ended, and that's on the record, actually, Jessica, as you read it at the end of the meeting. After the motion was passed, somebody.
Sorry, I gotta get some clarity here. Are you referring to wording that's in the minutes before us tonight?
Yes,
Okay, so where is that found?
that's under
What are you
7.3, 7.3, bottom of page 3.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, go ahead.
After the committee passed that motion, somebody altered it to add the words to reserve. That's a substantive change that was not part of the motion. It should not be there, and it bothers me that it happened.
So the original motion was not to reserve, it was to where?
How excess revenues are allocated, full stop.
Period.
Between the reserves, between the North Harbour loan and between the city's take in lieu of taxes. Yes, actually, this poses and answers the question. It's kind of ridiculous. I don't understand who and how is changing the wording of a motion that the committee passed.
Rob, you had it.
Through the chair, before we voted on this, Ms. Wall writes it up, and we get an opportunity to see it. I believe this was actually on the screen.
No, it wasn't. She did read it to us, though, when I have the recording here. Do you want me to play?
Because I remember the allocated part of the reserves. I don't remember exactly where it was worded in the sentence. But I think we're diving into if that loan's not paid off in the time frame, it's entirely up to the city staff and council of the time to say, you know what, it's not going to be paid off. Either we have to increase the rates so that we can pay this off, which nobody would like, or they're going to re-amortize that loan. Is the only thing they
But
actually.
I think you're really
actually do.
simplifying the options, and my concern in all of this, we're getting into a broader discussion, but my concern in all this is how much upward pressure is there going to be on rates when the cows come home, so to speak. There's reason for significant concern. I've gone through it. If you guys wanted to meet outside this meeting at some point and talk about it in great detail, I think we should, because I don't understand why people seem to be missing the point. However,
The point that the
What I
rates
have-
are gonna go up, the rates are gonna go up. We already know the rates are gonna go up over the next,
by
still 3 years for another 5% each year.
That's correct, and nobody's objecting to that. I'm thinking about 2027, when the rates are, when the North Harbour bylaw is gonna be going back to council. And there's gonna be a new rate schedule introduced. And that's the same year that the North Harbour loan comes up to
renegotiate the interest rates, they're gonna go from 1.47% to probably something between 3% and 4%, which is gonna require another $60,000 to $80,000 a year to maintain the loan. I can go into more detail on the status of the loan itself and how far in arrears we appear to be. And it is a great concern. The pressure on rates in 2027 is not gonna be 5 or 10%. It's gonna be, 100% or 100% plus.
Okay,
My
okay,
interpretation of the
okay,
numbers is
then
correct.
we're gonna not get into the weeds here, right now. What I would like you to do, Ken, is make your motion on how you would like to see that statement put forward as a motion,
Yeah.
sent to council, and then we'll get a report, and then we can deal with the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you don't mind,
I will do that. Let's, I'll work in the wording here and carry on with the other business.
so I think it's pretty simple.
Okay, I want to.
Where are you gonna put a period after allocated?
Moved and seconded that the committee recommend that council request a report from staff on the status of the North Harbour loan and repayment and the expectation regarding repayment of the loan by 2041.
Wait a minute, I'm
being clear.
revising the whole thing here.
While I'm being clear, I've got the opportunity. But if that's a problem, let's just stop it at the status of the North Harbour loan.
Yeah.
And how excess North Harbour revenues are allocated. Now, we can stop it there, or you could be clear by saying are allocated among North Harbour
How about
reserves.
just allocated?
Let's go with that.
Okay, Jessica, do you have that?
So to clarify, it's that council requests a report from staff. It's getting put in there and then Q reserves is getting taken out.
Yeah, well, from staff, I'm changing that wording somewhat. It says on when the Harbour loan will be paid off. I would like to phrase it as on the status of the North Harbour loan. That's
On the status of the North Harbour loan.
permissible.
Thank you, sir. And how excess revenues are allocated.
Excess North Harbour revenues,
North Harbour.
yes,
only.
are allocated.
Good. So could you just read that back for the committee?
But the committee recommend that council request a report from staff on the status of the North Harbour loan and how excess North Harbour revenues are allocated.
Very yes, thank you. So moved by Ken, is there a second? Seconded by Jim. Any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you very much. Now we have clarity and that will be going to. council. Terry, you're muted.
I was voting yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so, now, I have one question regarding the minutes, and that is 7.2. There was a suggestion that committee members bring a one-time overview report from the committee to council and staff.
About halfway through right now.
You're not ready yet, correct? Oh, that's fine. Okay, Amy, hearing, seeing nothing else on the agenda? Yes, go right ahead.
It's not really that important or anything, but on 7.6. We have the transient word statistics from last year.
Yeah.
I had a talk with Jen, Workinger about this. We, at the table here, had some thoughts that the previous year would have $100,000 in revenue. Last year, it went up to 180,000. That was an 80% or so increase. That was not reflective of transient boaters. That was reflective of boats that were paying day rate because they did not have insurance.
Oh. Well, we made 80,000 in that regard, awesome.
So the number is not reflective of actual transient pests.
We can attribute to that to, more boats coming in the car.
We thought it was separate news.
Well, there is an issue.
I think it's some, there's a floating point somewhere in the middle there that is the truth, and I think that.
Yeah, I'm just saying that number's
Yeah, it's not perfectly.
I think that, reinforces my suggestion that we see reports.
Yeah.
And the council sees reports as well.
The insurance question as well, that is, you know, in an enforceable way, vessels need to have insurance. Transient or not, that in a broad scope, yes, but more as a tool to, of course, dangerous vessels to.
I have to rack my brain on the length of time and period that we gave that grace period. Was it just a 1 year episode?
I don't recall there being a limit at that council meeting.
Rob, you recall anything in your memory bank in regards to boat owners not having insurance, give it some lead time?
Yeah, I think that was a loophole that they could, pay daily. But, and I don't clearly remember a time stipulation, but the expectation was. I don't clearly remember if transients are required to have insurance here yet. I know that was discussed,
So we're still
so
dealing with that.
there's still a loophole.
That was
An
a
expensive one, but
that was a committee recommendation also. I don't know, which department was responsible for moving that one forward? That transient voters are required to have insurance also.
Did Jamie to the board?
What, that was, yeah.
You know, if everything's happened, like it was passed by Cat, which was adopted the council a month ago. You don't know if everything's happened.
Because I would say there is some urgency, and especially hearing that what our resident boats are using that as a loophole to circumvent the insurance requirement, which was introduced for very good reasons. I would think the city would want to go into that. But, I don't know that you have to wait to introduce a requirement for transients to have insurance to do it. I mean, it's a grace period, and then there's a insurance.
There's also a really sweet bump in revenue that has the double, is the other side of the sword, because it is in a time where I think cities' finance is very important. I think it's a known thing, and
So the city's concerned about liability insurance is for sale.
Let's not get into it.
Yeah, well, come on.
We have a hand in the air here.
I would just say that it doesn't make sense for people to use that loophole to pay day rate to avoid getting insurance. It's cheaper to just get insurance and.
Well, unless their boat's gonna require a whole bunch of work to get insurance, in which case it's an even higher.
Yeah.
So do we need any type of motion follow-up or a report from staff from Jamie on this? Anybody want to make a motion to that effect that we get an answer?
wondering if it's worth knowing
Or you?
How many people are on day rate?
Sleeping Dogs Line.
Fifth grade on Sleeping Dogs Live.
Jim, you had your hand here.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that staff is sitting on that night. We didn't know. So, it's led. The transient numbers were way up. Revenue was up, but it was misleading. One thing that might be, I spoke to a voter just last week, and there, some people still have a hard time getting. Not as easy as what we think it is, just phone a guy and vote.
It is that easy. Well, I my brother done just that in the last month.
Yeah, that is.
I've been in various states available. There's no issue getting a survey right now.
Talked to one of our surveyors and asked him if he was still surveying like, there's no tomorrow, and he said, yeah. That's what.
And I just spoke with the voter last week that got the vote up to Jackson, and they can't get a survey in time. So they wanted to be in the South Harbor advisory one, but they didn't have the insurance documents for the survey.
When did he call for that? I mean, you can't call it a farmer survey. No, I don't know. I'm just saying firsthand experience here. No problem. Called up Bill, said, oh, can I get a survey in May? Yeah, I was 26. Good. And the same thing, my mother has a boat that he's getting surveyed, same thing.
So we're gonna leave that one alone.
Well,
Move on
you know
from
what?
these minutes, Jim.
I think it's a mistake to leave it alone. I think the city is leaving itself very vulnerable if they're knowing accepts that people are abusing the intent of the bylaw.
Okay, if you're not feeling comfortable with that, you want to make a motion and we'll see if the.
Well, I don't know what, I don't know what the motion is.
That's the only way you're gonna get an answer.
I recognize that, but, what are the options available to the city to address the matter? That's the question. I don't.
We have to ask staff that.
Okay, then yes, I make a motion, the council asks staff to, explore, options to, well, first of all, to, you know,
I'll ask staff to report on where they're at with insurance in our harbors. Just keep it simple.
Yeah, an incremental.
And then Jamie can show us the next meeting and he can give us.
staff to report on, long-term. On resident boats paying transient rates to circumvent the insurance requirement. How is that?
It's not just aimed, it's not just aimed at transient voters, it's aimed at whether you're insured in a harbor or not, whether you're transient or not, right?
Well, I think if you're paying monthly long-term rates, they require to see your insurance. It's transient, there is no requirement to be insured if you're a transient.
Okay,
No, if you don't have insurance, you can pay a daily rate,
yes, you can, that's why.
whether you're a home port
Excess
vessel
funds.
or not, don't have to be transient.
That's
But
what these people are
being
doing, yeah.
Looking at it from a different aspect, South Harbor is federally owned, leased to the city. I don't know what other places are doing and what other places are asking for. Privately owned marinas are absolutely asking for insurance. I was in Port Sydney, where you've got to have insurance. You're coming in there. That being a different logistic of how things operate there. I don't know. There is a lot of boats on this coast that do not have insurance and won't be able to get insurance. So we're gonna turn them away. For the simple fact of one, we're not gonna bring that revenue in, and two, they have nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. So you can come in and pay daily rate for the amount of time that they're there, whether it be a week, a month, a year, whatever, and we're gonna make more money.
Well, we go to the, when was it, a couple of meetings ago, to ask council to require transient boats to have insurance. Are you now suggesting that we reverse that?
No, it never got, that has not gone through. We have to
It's
go
going
back.
forward though. It's in the works.
We're waiting to hear back.
Well, supposedly, yeah, staff asked council to proceed with those.
So why we recommend
Recommendations.
this motion? Why not just let this proceed the way it's supposed to proceed, and what's transitioning and happening down there right now continues to happen until council and staff come up with a new bylaw that says every Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes through that breakwater have to have insurance.
Correct.
We don't need another
We
word.
have the option. No,
We're
no,
being
that's
a dead horse here.
That's a good point, Rob. I wonder though if it increases the urgency, given that we have that, how many resident boats be paying $80,000 or so a year? And it's, you know, we're talking about a dozen.
I don't think it's that many right now. I think it was more to do with boats that were paying that in the interim
Yeah.
when that transition happened.
Yeah.
I don't think
We could be chasing
That
after.
was a large part.
two boats. It was the transition.
Yeah.
Couldn't get a survey, couldn't get it done in time. There was that transition period where. Oh, so we gotta get insurance and they were working on it. I
So-
don't think that many old boats
So
are not insured.
it's a healthy discussion. It's an issue. We made a motion that's eventually gonna find its way to council. Some kind of feedback from staff and from council. So let's put that in there.
Yeah, I think that's right. That can be expedited, that would be terrific.
So. Can we have an adoption of the minutes that we have just reviewed? Okay. Moved by Jen. Second by Rob. All in favor? Thank you very much.
Hey, Terry.
And Terry. Thank you, Terry. And now we move to unfinished business. 6.1. I guess we're looking at Rob for an update on the fish cleaning station.
Yeah, I asked, Ms. Ball to put this on there, April the 19th, I presented to Rotary. They were very receptive, of what possibly could happen down there. Now they put it kind of back to me wanting it priced out to see what the cost would be to build this thing. As well as I'm hoping that the city and city staff will work with Rotary, and I know they've done lots of projects in the past. To hopefully, see this through. I don't know what the next step is moving forward with the city. And whether I leave that alone and just say, you know what, I'm gonna leave this up to Rotary once I cost it out. Somebody did bring something to my attention last week about fire hydrant possibility. I gotta get a hold of the fire chief and see if that's gonna be a problem of where the fire hydrant is compared to where we want the table. But Rotary was very receptive, very excited, looking for a project. And still the goal would be no cost to the city. Done at no cost.
So question in regard to process, Jessica. What do you suggest to be the best approach in this regard? Who should we reach out to?
Good question.
Once we get a
I
price,
think between finance, just to see about accepting like donations on city property, and then the actual like implementation of something on our property, making sure it's to code. I don't know, fish stations or to code or what.
Well, it would have to be, I know it has to be engineer staff. Definitely has to be engineer staff, because it's on city land.
so I guess the question is, should Rob request a meeting with Jamie to bring Jamie up to speed so that Jamie can try to stick handle this process?
Maybe let me start with finance. With Brian about what needs to be in place first, and then in terms of even just accepting it, and then we can go from there for actual like installation, what those steps would be. So yeah, I can start there.
I had some good drawings that I forgot, and they were drawn up by, Matt Dennis in that order. Actually put into the position of where it would be and how it would look. I don't know, so.
So you have those plans, and how about if Rob is to get those drawings to Jamie or to me, and I'll deliver them to Jamie. Whatever.
Can I interject for a minute?
Yes, go right ahead, Terry.
Having been in Rotary, Rotary has experience doing projects on city property. If they're going to take it out as a project, they'll probably be able to push it all the way through. So I think, in fact, we may not, or Rob may not have to do much more than support them if they elect to take it on as a project. And they've done a number of projects on city property, so that's something they're experienced with the process of accomplishing.
So should I just move ahead then, Terry, by costing it out, and seeing what the actual cost of this could be if we had to buy all the products so they can go their route to see how they get the funding to do it?
Yeah, I think so. They asked you for pricing, so I think you should go figure out the cost, and then they can see if it's a practical project for them. And if they take it on, I think you'll just be an expert support for them and carrying forward with the project.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. The only word of caution that I would express here is it's already May. And fishing season starts middle of July. So time is of the essence here. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We'll move along and thank you then. Move to item 6.2, satisfaction survey for home port vessels. You all have a copy attached to your minutes and the agenda here. And what is your wish? Maybe what do you want to do? Go through this point by point, or if you all have a chance to look at it and say this is looking pretty good?
Is there, I guess, an overarching plan in place about how the survey is going to be executed? Like once the questionnaire is done, Or, I mean, we can pretty much finalize the questionnaire here tonight, what happens next?
We don't have anybody from operations here, so I guess we have to lean on Jessica once again. How would you suggest it would be distributed and collected?
So I would suggest a motion again recommending to council, that it be implemented. I know it wasn't done that way the first time, but, I think that's probably the best way to go about it. So if the committee recommends to council that, the satisfaction survey be implemented, then we can go from there. I would imagine it would be similar to before, where there's a QR code, it can be filled out electronically or in person. Unless there's additional requests the committee has on how that.
I think the concern for the committee members is that somehow once they're filled in, that they're collected, anonymously and not through the wharfinger's office or something without that.
Yeah, so there's no name or identifying information on the
So, not
survey.
asking for anything else.
So as long as they don't put their name on it, there shouldn't be any concern with, unless they.
So is this something that will be distributed electronically then? Do you have any idea at this point?
It can be, yeah, like before we had it available like electronically to fill out or by hand.
Previous survey, like transient survey, that was all hard copy, right? Or they were handed out in the harbor when people were registered.
They did have it there. I think there were electronic versions as well. I'm not sure how many.
It's news to me for where there may have been. Seems like one of the issues I think we should make sure it's covered is that each harbor user only completes one survey. I've participated in surveys before as a member of the club, and they're all electronic. You get an email, there's a link, you click the link, and that link is associated with you, so that you click it once, you fill out the survey. Once if you click it again, it'll just say you have already completed the survey. That's one. If it's electronic, that's one way of doing it. There's going to be there are a number of people in the harbor who don't use computers. Period. When I've talked to people, they don't do email, they don't do online banking, they don't do anything. I think we should somehow let people know that hard copies are available if people are not able to do the electronic version. Plus, people need to be steered to or need to be notified that there is an electronic version and provided their link or whatever it is. So that would entail a city email to all the harbor users on your email list. And I hopefully we'll get some idea of what percentage of harbor users that is and how many are being missed. And then talk a bit about how we can somehow include them. But if it's electronic, I think everything is kind of taken care of. I mean, the electronic submissions, I think will take care of themselves. There are built-in security provisions. We won't need to worry about anything else.
Would we be using this, something like the Survey Monkey in this regard?
I think it's SurveyMonkey we use. One of two, I can't remember. I don't believe because we don't pay for it. So the free one, I don't think it has that feature where we can't do it twice. So I think this is one of those things where if you need to really have a truly valid survey results, you would have to probably throw some more money at it. So that's you can make whatever recommendation you wish to council, but that's like consideration.
I think it might be available, if not at no charge, at very low charge. I'd be happy to explore that.
I for one am not super worried about somebody coming to fill it in. Somebody has the time to fill it in multiple times, and then we're trying to skew the results of a.
Well, you don't have any people that we roughly have.
Yeah, so we're gonna get like outside spam from another country that's trying to like fill this in or whatever, it can skew it for sure. I don't really see what the interest of people. I think there'll be a healthy split between paper and digital. I hope people use digital because it's less paper with the print and cut down trees and everything. But if we can shoot QR code and they can be kind of loosely tracked. That's probably the spot you'll find the QR code is in only a few specific locations. I think we have a good chance of actually trying to gather that information. If someone wants to come and fill it in like multiple times, that's a big concern.
I think that's the more opportunities for distorted results that you eliminate, the more you can rely on the results. If you don't care, you don't care.
Emails could be the best, but how many people would have email?
I don't know. I don't think many. I would hope not many. So yeah, I think email's the way to go. Not putting a QR code up in the gate. That's not gonna reach 10% of the, that's not gonna get their attention. They're
Pretty
concerned.
confident the city has a large enough database with their customers, they send out invoices, et cetera. I think we're probably gonna see upwards around 70% for electronic connected city contract. We have to, a little bit of legwork for that other 30%. Those are just numbers in my head, but
And we're looking for, not for everybody to fill this out, but a good representative sample of users. Not reach in every boat owner in our harbor.
Well, if everybody's aware, that would be the target.
Well, that's wishful thinking, but, if people don't fill it out, they don't fill it out, so it's not gonna take some that.
No, that's great. But I think you're talking 400 contracts, I think, in North Harbor. I seem to remember, and then how many are sort of annual, out in Southwest, probably 100 or more,
120 or so, yeah.
Yeah, so we're talking about 500 possible responses.
You gotta remember, when we put our budget survey out to the thousands of individuals and living in the city, we get about 125 responses. That tells you something.
And there's not to say that that information that you do get isn't also skewed in a specific way, where maybe people who are older and maybe at home retired have time to fill out a survey where other people who might be at work don't, that's it's always gonna have its shapes to it. But I mean, just gathering information is a good start and figuring out what we can attract, because this always seems to be an evolving process as well.
Yeah. So I mean, it seems obvious to me we would start with an email to as many people as the city has on its email list, explaining what the survey is and, including whether it's a copy of the survey or whether it's a link, whatever.
So in terms of getting this out the door, you're going to make a motion to forward this on to council once we've taken a good look at it. And make any changes that you deem necessary, and then send it off to council and let staff come up with the best way to get this to all users of our office.
Essentially, it's up to staff, right, to distribute it out. We'll get our bit done here.
So does anybody have any problem with any of the questions that are on here at this point? Okay.
I think it's well done. I do have suggestions for what I think would be improvements.
This was a group effort. Right? This was a group effort.
Yeah.
So I would just want to say congratulations. That's pretty comprehensive thing.
Say you did a fair bit of work on this and did a good job.
That's really good. So let's make a motion to forward this on to council for their perusal. Give it their stamp of authority, and then staff can find the best way to get it out the door.
I do have one thing I would like to hear the committee's view on. That's including a question on whether people think a user fee should be introduced for the boat launch. Costs associated with boat launch, I'm fairly sure, but we look for confirmation, are now paid by North Harbor Word Speaks. Given the times, I don't know that it makes sense for people to use a boat launch. I don't know too many free boat launches anywhere. It's not reasonable to think about the possibility of introducing a user fee. And the starting point is kind of North Harbor users, because right now North Harbor users are putting the tablet.
So
out there.
No, I have one question in that regard. If you're launching your boat to go fishing, you park your vehicle and trailer at the upper lot, how much do you have to pay per park?
$10. Same price of car in the ferry parking lot pays for a single price size parking spot.
So every time is that a $10 pass just for one day?
Yeah.
Can you get a pass for all season?
You can, it's 100 It's a hundred,
Regular parking pass, yeah.
it's 120 now. It's 120
So,
now.
so that
works for the
rent
upper
fee
parking lot?
to launch your boat,
It's true.
don't you think those parking fees are going up?
Chair, no, I believe the revenue does not go to harbor operations, it goes to, operate bylaws.
Goes to where?
To help operate bylaws department.
Oh, for bylaws.
Pretty sure the truck trailer parking lot funds goes to bylaw. Everywhere you go, it's usually $5 to launch, $5 to take out, $5 to parking. In a lot of places, Port Alberta's like that. It's like $15 for a 24-hour period.
Plus annual classes if you want to go to.
Or annual pass. If you wanna go that route. We have a lot of commercial vehicles that use that as well. They wheel down, they launch a big boat, they haul a big boat, and they're gone. We have a lot of people now because there is no parking. When it gets busy, they're parking on the streets. So they're not paying a single thing, or they're parking all the way down in the South Harbor. And then they get dropped off there. Somebody gets dropped off, they drive their truck around and they just drive their boat out in the trailer and they're gone. So I don't have a problem with that. I think moving forward, it's gonna be reality. And hopefully the funds stay within the North Harbor to help maintain and fix our ramp that is falling apart. So I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I think we should put it in here, and see what the response is.
I think, raised some really good points. Two things I want to say. One, to your suggestion that the parking fees also covers the boat launch. If you can park a truck and a trailer for the same price that you pay to park a car in the lower parking lot, doesn't make sense. A single parking lot for $10 for a truck and a trailer and the boat launch for $10. And by usage. Parking the truck and trailer should be more than single days, plus the boat launch should be more yet. So I don't think the argument that they're paying the boat launch in a park really holds water. The only other thing in response to Rob is, does it make sense to ask North Harbor users what they think of it, that, you know, as I mentioned, because it's coming out of their fees right now, as I understand it? Or should we just form a, you know, come to a position here and go forward?
I just wonder if maybe that's just a discussion that we can have, separate from the survey, because you kind of know what North Harbor. And so, yeah, it might be good, they think about this and how we should get through council that. Around that. So,
I imagine that this would be grossly unpopular. I think that, you know, people love driving their boats. Look at the long line that forms in July. Look at the packed parking lots, for blocks on end of trailers stuffed in the corners everywhere. The reality is they are harbor users as well. They're not contract holders, so we have no information on who these people are. There's no, you know, what would enforcement look like for people actually coming down to use the ramp? I don't know. But a parking meter there down at the ramp to put your $5 in or $10 or whatever it is. Might be surprised how many fish that catches, so to speak, and potentially allowing revenues to repair the ramp because the ramp is in. Design of the ramp is an issue because of heavy tire loads and big boats turning in a really tight area. The ramp gets worn down quite badly, quite often, usually asphalt, chunks of rock sitting around. You know, helping improve that, helping improve the harbor at the same time, and making it a revenue generating amenity for the public, maybe it can be higher quality than it is now. The chance of it actually bringing money.
So I'm just gonna bring you up to speed on the last issue. First of all. So we had Beauty Forest wanting to do something in regards to that ramp and upgrade it. Make it safer, make it better. The problem is that building, existing sewage, outfall building is the issue. And until the city comes forward with what the end product of that is going to be, we don't want to touch the ramp. That's what we're getting from staff. So when we get our new CAO, that'll be one of the things the committee will recommend that council looks at seriously in order that we can get that upgrade. Because I knew the community forest was there, they wanted to do it, but they could. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, that's promising. That's good.
I think also another overarching consideration is at a time when the city is looking for new sources of revenue, this is a source of revenue that still provides fair value to the users. So I mean, it's there for the taking, I think.
Now, the only thing that, when I put my council hat on here, when I'm talking about fees and raising rates and all the rest, I mean, people are just getting sick and tired. And if you add that on your survey, they're gonna throw their hands up and go, you kidding me? They're gonna revolt. And the other thing is, all those good people that are hiding their boat, truck and trailer somewhere down there, enabling them to get on the water. First of all, half of them can't get a sled, even though they're on a wait list, and the other half can't afford it. So I feel sorry for those individuals that we're gonna raise the rates for them, and they're already paying a good chunk of money to park their vehicle. So that's where I'm coming.
But that's just that they're not paying to park their vehicle. Like, some people choose to park on the street and they don't want to put that $10 up.
I've talked to a number of voters about that, and a number of people who use the ramp say, yeah, I think it's nuts, this is free. Try to find this anyplace else. I use the boat ramp, but
Well, it's not free, because you gotta pay the parking lot, right?
The money doesn't go to the
park there, but
So we can't say it's free.
But, you're paying to park. Boat launch is part B of that, service, or part A, actually.
And one price for any size vehicle, so to speak.
Yeah.
Jim?
So are you gonna answer that question so we can put?
Yeah, I have no problem not putting it on here. I think I'll get the right
So
decision.
we're gonna leave it off. Gonna send the survey. Somebody wanna make a motion before we assign the council over there?
Are we happy with these questions?
Yeah.
Yes, I make a motion that we ask the council to direct staff to adopt and execute the survey.
Moved and seconded by Jim. And any other further questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Before you,
Oh, go right ahead, Jessica. Have you got that motion?
I do. Or if I could, make a friendly addition to it just for extra detail and clarity to stop and execute the satisfaction survey as presented with both electronic and paper options, and with a consideration to use the Harbour users email list for distribution.
Great. Much clearer.
Great.
You can vote on it.
That's why Jessica's here. Right there. So, we have a motion before us. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. That brings us to what we added as 7A, use of the loading zone and regarding the buffer law. Who wants to speak?
I will.
Yeah, go ahead.
The intent of the bylaw in for the loading zone is to keep it available for everybody when they need it. For example, Sasha down the end of the table comes in sometimes 11 o'clock at night with a load of stuff that's gotta get off and move spot to unload and go and tie up somewhere. If it's being utilized for some other activity other than loading or unloading, it's not for its desired purpose, right? So it's, the feds have always wanted it to be open and available for all people. That would be water taxis, ambulances, et cetera, that sort of thing. Well, I got 3 different people contact me late in the latest federal election campaign, wanting to know why there was a fishbowl down there. And it's in the loading zone. Why we not loading? No, he's not. He's flying election banners and stuff. There's a couple of pictures on Facebook about it. But just so everybody knows, the loading zone rate, as per bylaw, is first 2 hours free, $50 per hour after that. And the question posed to me was, is that boat paying? And if that boat's paying, why isn't there the other 2 parties represented? And I went, well, wait a minute, that's kind of political stuff. But that's the thing, like, why are some parts of the bylaw being enforced and some parts are not being enforced? Okay. So, the optics, like I said, on the phone message, the optics aren't good, but that probably distasteful. We want to get out, the kitty's left the, or the horse left the barn, so, but, you know, I mean, if we have bylaws for a reason, if they're not gonna be enforced,
So that loading zone is right below the office. And whoever is working the office should be able to look over the side and say, oh, that boat's there more than 2 hours. I guess I better go give them a bill. Right?
yeah, and like I said before, you don't put a stopwatch on the guy that's loading and unloading. If it takes 6, 8 hours, as long as you're working. But it's not to tie up overnight. The boat was there for 10 days.
We're working on a boat that was there for. It's like,
So, I mean, you can pick and choose your bylaws if you want, or you can do your job.
yeah.
Are they paying more?
So
Yeah, they're.
Regular work.
this has been a bone of contention for me personally, the loading zone issue. There are multiple times in the summertime when I come in with a load of dive gear, a load of heavy tanks and stuff that need to get off the boat. It has been the wharfinger's practice to tie up transient boats in that. All summer long.
In the busy summer months or
All
all
full
year?
of transient boats. I'll come in the late afternoon, it's full of transient boats, and I literally have no spot to unload my boat. So there's been instances where I have to tie up on another boat and load across a boat. Fairly unfortunate. That's been staff's policy. That's what they've done. Big bone of contention for me. There should be loading zones in all 3 harbors, well, 2 harbors, I guess. We and South Harbor that are loading zone only at all times. In regards to the bumper log, Jen did contact me and asked me if I could locate a new bumper log, which I phoned around everywhere and tried to find one and was unable to find one, so hopefully I can't find one for you. Have to look into it yourself.
Can't drag one off the beach, so.
It's not legally.
Just to raise your point, the loading fender pile that.
Not my job. This
Hold on, guys. One at a time.
It's a 66-foot long boom stick and it's got about 4 or 5 bolts in it and it's got chains right through it. It goes up and down with the tide. So, Sash's predecessor, Bobby Briggs, used to go down and change it for us one every 5 years. It's finished. It sounds like ends on it, so. Yeah. Right, our job is done.
You asked me if I could find one and I
You tried to sort?
tried everybody I know.
Is that the bumper lock we're now talking about? What type of wood is that, fir or what is it?
It's usually.
The boom stick.
Boom stick.
The fisherman recommended fir or cedar because of its long longevity. I think what's there is hemlock.
How long is it? 45?
Just 65 or something. 60 feet.
Okay, we'll take operator.
I'm gonna reach out to my contact, of course, and see if they can help.
I was talking to somebody who has to drill the hole. Sort that part out.
If that doesn't work, how about the tug operator who beat up the docks in South Harbor? Get on his conscience, you know.
He could lose a log as it passes by.
Well, you gotta know where there is one.
A lot good ones, you have for neighbors yard, you won't.
So you say that's about 45 feet?
60 plus.
This is one thing that we probably shouldn't be doing. This is staff's job.
Yeah, this is.
So we should.
Well, I'm just gonna look for a source, now turn it over to staff.
Yeah.
I think this might be doable. But how many holes are in that thing for a chain or whatever?
It's three.
Oh, it's like 5.
Yeah.
5 chain, yeah.
It might require new changes too.
Yeah, Jepson can drill
Now, it should be noted that that comes under the maintenance schedule for small craft harbors, they'll pay the bill.
They will.
I'm working on this whole noodle here, that tells you that I'm part of the maintenance agreement.
If PVC, then I wouldn't even go.
Well, you can check, you can have Jen check.
Possibly pay, right? Small crap. Yeah, okay, so we'll look into that and, we'd probably say that cedar's best product because it lasts longer, even though we get top value for cedar.
Like one to check with the fence there to see what they want, I believe they want for.
No,
Yeah, that would-
well, we do. Well, that's better, cheaper.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll look into that. Do we need a motion to send to council in regard to keeping this, loading zone free of transits?
That's what it's gonna take.
And so who would like to make that motion?
Since somebody new,
What do you see fit?
since somebody new. Razor.
Recommend a motion to enforce the bylaw in the loading zones in the, I guess it's only South Harbor is the only one that.
Well,
West
West
Harbor.
actually, they call it the Westview now.
Yeah, West Harbor.
South Harbor's really,
And so those bylaws are going, according to the bylaw, that should be no transients and no long
Could be
term.
transient that's unloading too.
Oh, yeah, but
Thank you.
no overnights and no,
Oh, yeah, I,
Let's try to simplify the motion that we're going to.
recommend a motion to council to enforce the loading zone bylaw in the Westview Harbor.
As per bylaw.
That's right to the point. Right to the bylaw.
And that Jen's manager just phone Jen and say, please impart the bylaw, there's the loading zone.
we're stepping over our boundaries right now.
This committee is doing its work through council, can remember that.
So
Well, that's where it's gotta go.
Isn't our loading
Couldn't one member of council make a phone call to
We're
James?
still waiting on
Or
that.
to the acting CAO?
Yellow pen.
No, there's only, there is no CAO to talk with amongst sewer. That's not bad. We're better off sending it to help. Maybe we'll.
I almost got you there.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
I'll take it.
Moved. Seconded. All in favor? Good. Okay, you got that?
Gets its teeth into this one.
Now, last thing on our agenda, if there's nothing else, we have question period to the gallery, and then we're gonna pick a time for our next meeting. So, do we have any questions? Either online or gallery?
Mr. Stokes.
No questions?
I haven't heard of Mr. Fleming.
No.
Good evening. Nothing for me tonight. Thank you for asking.
Thank you, Mr. Fleming.
Thank you, Ron.
So, our next meeting, what is your, wish? Next month? Because of busy season, or?
Be our last one till fall, whatever time it is, eh?
Before you pick that,
June.
before you pick that, can I just go in general discussion and, we're, I'm just gonna go back to before the committee was formed, I had a discussion with, I believe it was Councilor Selka. And when council had decided they were going to, have a committee, they wanted all the user groups involved. I believe the trailer boaters were also mentioned as a user group, not Rob?
Yep.
So, council recognizes that, trailer boaters are a user group. So they wanted to have somebody from the trailer boaters on this committee at that time. I don't know that they actually.
Does everybody hear the trailers that vote to her?
Yeah, I do.
We have one.
Yeah.
So you gotta try to my fishing boat to the harbor.
Yes,
I wouldn't mind paying a user fee out there. Yeah. I think it's very fair.
The things that Randall already bring us go, we're way ahead of time today.
Kind of backing up to new business, I heard. It's on here previously, and I just want to mention it that, on docks 11, 10, and now on 8, there are electrical stands that are still not working.
Electrical stands.
The outlet where the outlet
Where
where
you plug
boat
it
plug
through?
into, they're still on dock 11 by the pump out. It's still taped up and broken. On dock 10, there's one that's all taped up and it's still not working. And one side by boat is no longer providing power, whatever the reason. I got the prawn guy put their prawn intake in the other day, and I guess they plug in there to use their pump. Busted.
You put that on the minutes as far as discussion note to Jamie. The electrical, plugins on docks 11 and 10 and 8 are not functioning.
That's in the software.
So,
Being that we're closing in on transient season here, they might want to get on it.
So on that, how are repairs? Have you seen repairs being carried out in the harbor lately or anything changed?
I'd say that the emergency ladders to get out of the boat are in pretty rough shape. A lot of them are broken or not.
The emergency what?
The ladders to get out of, if you fall off the dock, there's safety level, little safety
In bad
ladders
shape? Are they spotted in the water?
down in the water. Yeah.
Except for the ones on the Coast Guard dock.
They're supposed to be out of the water, they lift up, and then if we need it, we just, you just pull it down and stainless steel, but it's.
And the water's covered in 6 inches of marine growth.
Or
Yeah.
rock, or
And
rock.
and rusted off there.
So note to Jamie, ladders, should be serviced.
The other question I had was, you mentioned you put the pond on the intake or whatever. There's use of, I guess, the pump post on dock 11, we're at the pump out station by some of those individuals for the prawn season. I'm talking to some vendors who expressed extreme interest in the ability to plug in, and I'm wondering if that plug, if runs an extension cord to the top of the dock, for the prawn guys plug in, if that would ever be usable for vendors to use, because for them, they're either running a generator or they're plugging in. If they can plug in, it's a lot quieter, it's a lot nicer. They expressed, the two vendors I talked to expressed a big interest in being able to plug in. And then if the city was ever able to accommodate that.
What type of vendors are these?
These are the food vendors in
Food trucks?
in food trucks in South Harbor. In the parking lot there, and
So
so
they get down there regularly?
they are, yeah, they're running generators typically to try and make that power. So a lot of them have found, you'll notice, there's a few food vendors, there's a new one down by Strikers Bowling. They've now relocated because they have plug-in power, so they'd rather not be in that area and they'd rather pay private rent to stay in a spot where they can actually plug into power. There's power available in locations down there. It would be a big draw for them to come out. And one of them already is equipped with a plug. Plug is supplied by the marina and the prawn and whoever that's picking up the load are using that plug. The extension cord run up onto land from the marina dock. It's an easy transition without having to install any extra infrastructure. And the biggest thing would it be vendors be allowed to use that power? It would be a
Is there a
big,
charge to the prawn guys for use?
I don't think so. I
It's
doubt it.
just a matter of plugging in.
Yeah.
So when are the food trucks down there? When are these vendors there that I can go approach them?
Right now, so I think it's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday are, French fry guys, there's like
Every day.
every day.
What time
11
do they
to
show
5.
up?
It's usually there around 10:30, 11 o'clock. I've had a couple of calls.
They get about 4 or 5?
5 o'clock. Yeah, it's like 11 to 5.
Can we go down and talk to them tomorrow?
Yeah.
And I'll see what they need and then I'll relay the message to Jamie.
The other one is Rosemary Lane, the gal who's been down there a lot, and she's now permanently in front of Strikers. I talked to her and she said, "Oh man, if I could have power down there, that would be a game changer." She's literally paying rent in a different location because of the power. So, check it out tomorrow.
I did talk to one of the vendors that's, she, at the curry club last weekend, and she had the laminated copy that she got from the city of the location that the frontage is gonna be, so that does seem to be.
Perfect.
They didn't get the number one spot to one, that's out of it, where you guys are for sea cameras. But she got one, right at the apex of the turn, and then the other one was over near the path.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's where the fry guy is,
Yeah.
that's one allocated one. And I went down there and tried the food and watched people come and go, and it's really nice to see there be life in the area.
I'm hoping we can move forward with picnic tables down there for this summer. I think that would be fantastic. If staff knows where there is some that are stored that we can possibly get there. I mean, we know that they're gonna have to be possibly anchored down because the next thing you know, they're gonna end up in the ocean. But I think the capabilities are there to proceed with that, and that would be awesome.
I noticed today, Fry guy has his own tables and chairs in front.
Yeah.
It's got
Yeah,
eating stuff and he's setting up. spreading out.
Yeah, and there's a picnic table out at the point, that little sandy patch between the marine walkway. It's been there for a couple of years now. I think the city put that there. Great addition, have a picnic lunch and watch the sea, you know, look out at the ocean. Awesome. So a little bit more of that, and I think would really, you can feel it just with the fry guy. It's already changing a little bit. There's people hanging out, getting food, coming and getting the food and leaving. They're not even eating it there. I watched somebody come in and get 4 hot dogs and fries and then peel out of there. So it's bringing business, even if they're not using the area for long term. So
So you can give yourselves a pat on the back for initiating this process. But if it wasn't for you, Harvey, it wouldn't be happening.
we're not doing, yeah, I mean, it's really vibrant. But you know, steps, fresh French fries, you get the palate just right. So
Has anybody heard the hours of operation projected to be this summer?
No, I know that was a question mark for last year and we haven't heard.
Install-
I don't even know who's dealing with it.
Currently, it's still 704.
that May first,
So on that point, that's a good point, because this was from my mind at the beginning, and I didn't have it to the agenda, but we needed an answer as to when additional staff are gonna be hired down there, because I can remember what happened last year on the long weekend in May. Boats were coming in all weekend, and there was nobody on the docks. Nobody really where they could pay their fee. They were coming in, tying up, and then leaving again, and there was nobody to service them.
There was a
So I'm hoping that doesn't happen this year.
racing fleet came over from Comox that weekend. Yeah, and if that race is on, I would think there's gonna be about a dozen boats in that fleet looking to tie up.
The Eldrine Pass race, that was the motivation for us to have weekend assistance. When I
So I'm
started,
gonna ask, I will ask Jamie, once I go down and talk to the vendors, and I go see Jamie, I'm gonna bring up the main law.
Rod actually he reported to me that he's seen 2 different part-timers down there recently, so
Yeah.
maybe they already have
Oh,
staff in place.
They are
Yeah,
on
and I
board.
believe well, there was a position posted as well for part-time harbor, manager workers assistant, and I believe it's been filled.
Oh,
So I was gonna put in for it, now, but
you know if they started,
I do not know if they started.
that's important. Okay, so any other comments, questions?
I haven't heard it talked about here, but what's going on with the barge terminal ramp and sea can that's down there? Why is it still there? Is it ever gonna be used again?
Not that I'm aware of.
Why is it there then?
the ramp in the,
The ramp and the control shack and the generator pack in there, I guess, or whatever it is.
Talked
I
about
think
this
it's- I think there's
council.
money involved. I think it was financial.
Financial what? It's costing the city money to get rid of it?
Yeah, they ran the money when the project was.
Seems like somebody would pay to have that. Big chunk of steel, metal is worth money.
I'm sure you can approach a salvager who would gladly give you $1 for him.
We talked about it, council,
Well,
about a year or
it's just
so
making-
ago, I think, a year and a half ago. we
I
talked
wonder
about
if
it
maybe
at council.
next weekend, you can make, for next meeting, make a motion of that, and let.
Yeah, when Jamie's here next meeting, we're gonna bring that up, put it on the agenda.
Okay.
And then we can have a healthy discussion around that issue. Okay? So our next meeting, we should have one next month for sure. Where's my phone? That will be. First Wednesday is the 4th, June 4th. 6:30 right here. And I'll be ready for business.
Thinking, Jim, we would have one more meeting then before summer break.
That's what we did last year, but let's just know if there's any pressing issues or anything we need to deal with, we can always call another meeting by the end of June or something before July. If need be.
Fraser, you got anything?
Pardon?
Got anything?
Well, not really. I just think myself, one thing should happen is the gas flow down there should have a fucking phone number out of the end so they can phone you gas, because the harbor master won't answer the VHF. Find out where the gas flow, if there's like people in there or anything about it. And there's no, and if you're outside there wondering if you can fit in because it's busy, workers won't take the call. They'll direct you. They phone numbers, you gotta figure out rescue fuel. They should have signs, like every fuel dog, every harbor. Sign at the end of the breakwater, fuel, rescue fuels, phone number or VHF number.
I'll mention it's a joke.
And they won't, and they're always on call. You always have to phone them to come down, and they're pretty good, I feel pretty good about
Who runs the fuel log?
it. It goes through.
And they're starting here. Not this coming weekend, next weekend. They'll have, something on that. There's actually, they might even have, because when I went for fuel the other day, there was a young guy there already.
Yeah, so there should be a number out there. The other thing that you're talking about, this is me, with the transient being booked into the loading zones. Normally, when I talk to them about it, they're just waiting until 6 o'clock at night kind of thing and overflow. Hey, get in there, but you gotta be gone in the morning. And if we need it for loading and unloading, then you gotta go produce something. But we have the spot temporary. And that's where that one fellow with was it like a Sunbridge? He was in there, but he was in there for a few days and he was pissing me off because he wouldn't leave. But, and other people use it for repairs. A couple of days gets the repairs, so you're not walking to the end of the dock and back again, tools and cart. But, she was putting transients in there, but it was late in the day, you know, but she got it gone. She really has tried to fill spots.
So she's working on it.
Working, but she needs earlier. Well, she told me that. But.
Okay. Yeah, so I can, when you bring up that number, I can still remember as a youngster going fishing with my dad out in Nanaimo Harbor every weekend and, when the fish were running there at this time of year. SO station, great big phone number. Right out on the dock.
And that's one more thing is, and I'm, people like in Cowboy River, they charge for launching a boat, not launching, but they have washed up facilities there. They have huge garbage facility, fish catching. They don't put their fish guts and remnants back into the water. They go in a catch basin in the thing that gets taken away. So it's in the middle of an animal and beautiful stuff, but it's $15 per parking or something, $20. But they've got walk down facilities, big spots for traders to pull out and things.
You know, that holding for guts and heads and whatnot, that's a valuable resource for planners and everything.
Well, that, you know, it goes to, sea soil people. That's where it goes out. The Cinnabar Valley Farms, it used to.
This recycling farm, making the sea soils.
Probably sell those fishes.
That we.
Let's think about that. Let's think about
I got enough on my.
Okay, so Columbia Fuels. Does anybody have a good relationship with Columbia Fuels? Could you ask them about a phone number? And do we have any bylaws, like putting up signs with phone numbers
Small sign on the door.
on business down there?
Used to have a big one.
I don't know about down there.
There
I'll have to
is,
look
there
at
is.
that.
There's
Signage bylaws.
You can't speed on low tide.
I think I have signed.
They're not,
There's no.
Related, their property is independent.
Yeah, they own their docks, they should be able to put up their own
Different
sign.
numbers sometimes.
But even
I
if
would be
we
saying it's a sign at that entrance to the harbor.
Yeah. That's what we-
Like where there's a big sign there now, Power Harbor,
But there's no phone number.
and not fuel dock.
Fuel dock should have like advertising in the name of fuel dock. Phone number, you know, we don't.
On the fuel dock itself,
No, at the entrance to the marina.
on the great one.
Anyway, you mentioned to them, see if they're interested. Maybe we can help them out some way, shape or form if they need be, so just see if they're interested in the phone. Other than that, gentlemen, call for adjournment? Anything else?
Can I pipe in for half a sec?
Yes, go right ahead.
Sorry, guys. Just listening to the fish cleaning. Just anecdotally, so the marina that we have down here in North Van, we have applied for and have received Clean Marine certification. So Clean Marine's a certification done by Georgia Street Alliance, and a lot of the marinas sign on to it. And it's the idea is just to generally try and be a good steward. We have what are called 4 anchors, or we have 4 anchors out of a possible 5. And that's the rating system. In trying to go for the fifth anchor, one of the things which was said to us had to do with the fish cleaning station, and that's why I wanted to pipe in. We have one here. The fish cleaning station, like so many, the effluent just goes into the water. You don't think twice about it. If we continue to do that, we will not get our fifth anchor. They consider that bad mojo. So the concept of taking the fish cleaning station, well, you guys have it, maybe give some thought to taking that effluent and moving it into some form of other disposal. It seems to be the way of the world.
Good point, Rob.
Or do away with that sea lion and seals. You know, habitually feeding there.
You're gonna transport issue too, then you're gonna.
That wall company's gonna have to take it on, right?
Who makes seasoil in town? You can already do that.
It's almost a seashell.
Yeah.
Seashell got a volume, you know.
Back when
I'm
was
aware of that,
operation, I was
Green
pretty
Marine,
picky about saying
outfit that Rob's talking about, yeah, like, that's been around for a while, and you try to achieve that, and kudos for them to have 4 stars, but it's, yeah, it's difficult to achieve, so they must be first class. Well done.
So is it food for thought, or is it anything that be done here locally? At this point,
It's food for thought. I mean,
Yeah.
any way you can try and improve the means and maybe, you know, put back something into the community that, where somebody is building something from it. Yeah, I think the biggest deterrent is gonna be your wildlife and how it is that stuff is stored and the stench, I mean, especially in the summer.
big problem.
And there's a cost associated with getting rid of that, right? So.
It's a messy business.
And Marina has some kind of containment system for their fish cleaning tank. Well, how do they do it? Does anybody know?
The truck comes from the store and takes it away.
How you contain it, how do you deal with the stink, how do you?
They must have somebody on that every day over there.
Yeah. Emptying every day.
They did. I remember, but the site came old and the thing came out.
part of municipal garbage collection problem.
We've actually elected not to do anything about it this year, because it kind of caught us off guard. What we've done instead is that we've sent a note out to the folks that use the fish cleaning station, suggesting that perhaps they clean the fish before they come in. Because like I said, it's a little bit of an interesting situation.
Yeah. Up to me, Okay, so, get late. And I think we got this. Call for adjournment, did we do that already? Jim, you moved to adjournment, and all in favor? Unanimous. We are adjourned at 8:05.
Yeah, extra time there, they don't change the thing.
Thank you, Jim. Oops.
They don't need to know what actual length of the fish, as long as